In this jungle guide, I'm going to look at the 9 things players need to become better junglers in Season 13, the good things you need to amplify in order to take over this meta, those things you are actually not doing correctly that are upsetting me when I have to look at them, and all of those mistakes and bad habits that we can turn into good habits, and then maybe the 9 things that allow you to take your climb to the stars. And quickly, right, everyone wants to climb faster because the seasons are shorter. We need those wins, we need those LP gains, and the first thing is the map is king, and I do need all of you to understand that this principle should govern every other decision you have in the game. Listen to the map, understand the map, appreciate the map, and don't do what the map doesn't want you to do, because that results in you dying, it results in jungle diff when it's not deserved, and of course it allows enemy junglers who want to gank and run around and not farm to get fed, which of course is what we hate. When the map says, hey, you need to give up a scuttle crab and swap to the other side, it's telling you to please give up the crab and swap to the other side. When the map is telling you, listen, this herald is contested, you should leave, it means you should give up this herald and leave. And when we miss these signals and we get them crossed, we end up losing dragons, heralds, dying, more camps, and it can snowball enemy teams into the other direction. Likewise, it has very specific functions when it comes to mechanical plays you try to make. But while mechanics might not always be on your side, Mobalytics is. Much like our redesigned jungle, Mobalytics app has been redesigned to give you all of the best information that you need to thrive before, during, and after game. While Riot did remove scouting, Champ Select has been redesigned to give you all of the information on the champions on your team and on the enemy team, so you can know which team is stronger, along with gold leads and insane informational trackers in the overlay. You can keep track of your progress in-game to help you hit the targets you need to win. The power spike notifications in-game will mean you never have to worry about messing up again. Leona 6, Roman gank it. Nocturne 6, done with a push and dive. And so you know ADCs need this, but you know what? They're not gonna use it, which means you can use it and then counter gank and obliterate the enemy jungler. The brand new Mobalytics app has everything you need to improve in Season 13 League of Legends. Click the link in the description below to download and become Ascended. Now let's look at some examples of what I mean by when I say map is king. Firstly, we're all used to seeing high-level, high-elo junglers decide to do red quadrant into ganking, right? They get the tempo advantage over the enemy jungler, they can do Talon red side clears ahead of the enemy jungler, and if you start a top side and path bot, now there's no bottom lane for you to gank. Alternatively, you could just be a farming jungler who's looking to sequence and try and navigate this by counter ganking and being present as much as possible, while also denying treats through strategic counter jungling. If you're full clearing as an Udyr though, and the Wukong is getting free kills and going for that 330 crab, and your bottom lane has no sums, don't force them to rotate. You can simply shadow, shove off, maybe get it and defend against a dive, but ideally what you want to do as the Udyr is swap, go to top scuttle, gank the top lane, take his blue side while he's wasting time here with nothing else to do. What you don't want to do is force a fight that causes your laners to die. Even if you live, you are causing an issue and a deficit that's going to be difficult for you to overcome by yourself. Likewise, if you have laners who don't do this, you know they should join you out of base, fresh buys. Enemy doesn't have fresh buys, we have the numeric advantage. Let's go 4v4. In theory, you can be right until the cows come home. But if you want to climb to the stars, you do not have time for earthly woes like when the cows are coming home. So don't waste your time. Yes, they shoulda, coulda, woulda. Make sure you control your camps, swap to the other side, try and get tempo so you can get the herald. The second part about map is king is that it also has strategic implications on your own jungling, not just in terms of, hey, let's talk about the macro that people don't adhere to. Obviously, you giving things up when you should means you can basically bend but not break. When you don't give things up, and this is for the 99% of you, you end up just throwing the lead you could have gotten. For example, we have this Kindred here, Platinum Diamond Elo, and all of a sudden decides, let me go in and invade an Elise. On the face of it, you're like, hey, this is a good play, right? The map is saying, I have prio or I have position to maybe get the kill and get out. If I don't have prio, that you do actually have to factor in. But as soon as you mechanically queue in towards an Elise when she has her cocoon up, you're most likely gonna die. And look what she does after this. She will dominate the map. She will take your gray screen into so much denial and so many kills that you're just trailing her, following her around. You've lost all jungle control. So you can adhere to the map and listen to it and do the right thing, but if you mechanically mess up, or you try a more aggressive play that maybe isn't necessarily the best one just to keep flowing with the map, you can swing the other direction pretty heavily. Now the second thing is going to be these small details on your tracking and counter jungling that I covered in a coaching session, but we had a Kane, he did a good job, full clear, got a gank bottom lane. You know, we're doing our thing, we go back to base, we take the Krugs, we gank the top lane, enemy jungler somewhere else, that's absolutely fine. We're listening to the map, we're translating our pressure into ganks when the map provides it. We're not ostrich jungling by keeping our heads in the sand. But then we look up and we see the enemy jungler showing bottom lane. We press tab, we see, wait a second, this echo has no itemization. This echo sequenced up, crossed mid lane, went down, chased a bottom lane kill, has 28 CS, that's a full clear plus grab, and then he paths with directional intent to the Krugs. So it's indicating that he's trying to go for a second rotational clear before he bases the first time. So Krugs, Raptors, potentially Wolves, potentially Gromp. Because we understand tracking and the numbers of jungling, We know that once that 5-minute 30, 5-minute 40 timer goes by, normally the last camp for a jungler to clear on his first sequence should 100% have spawned, which is exactly where we are in the game now, and we're on the top side, so don't do your base, help shove, and then move on for the counter jungling. And I actually had to say, here, cancel your base, go for it. And so he goes and does this, and it gives him so much advantage while very heavily denying the echo sequencing and level 6 spike. Now later on in the game, we got fed, we made plays, we killed their mid laner. Now instead of just taking the map and saying, hey listen, top scuttle, blue grumper up, I can go for those, we decided to greed for a plate. And then we telegraphed where we were going next, which meant all we got from all of this escapade was a wolf camp. Now if we get kills and get out, great. If we die, unfortunate. Doesn't really matter. The point is, we did not get as much as we could have from that play because we greeded, and then we shadowed upside, giving away information in the reverse. We used small details to get a lead earlier, and then we gave it right back. Good junglers will press tap, good junglers will F-key, good junglers will look at what you're doing, extrapolate their pathing, and make the counter maneuver. I know live coaching in itself isn't that great, but when you combine it with VOD review, you get a really good session. And always having that live component shows you what the camera controller's like, what they're thinking in real time, and then you use that to teach the principles necessary for their playstyle. That's what we do over at Virkayu.gg. Well, that's what I do because that's the only site that I work at. Because it's my site. Get your free jungle PDF today, or sign up for a course. Now, as a general concept, when good junglers do random things, and low elo junglers always tell me this, and diamond junglers, they also do this, they do random things, and you think, hey, listen, a monkey sequences from the bottom to the top side, ganks top lane, resets. I know at the 420 marker, that's when the second camp's gonna spawn approximately, he's gonna go for the Gromp Wolves again, or maybe gank bottom lane and then fall back to the Gromp and the Wolves. So as the Zac here having a good early rotation in this particular moment, I know the numbers of jungling, the second respawn of all the camps, I know that those raptors are gonna spawn 5 minutes to 5 minutes 10. I know they're going to be spawning, I should go counter jungle them, right? Yes, of course, because we think he's gonna be sequencing bottom to top. Now what happens is, we would actually run into the monkey, we would see him doing it and go, wait a second, why are you doing that? Doesn't matter. You ask the question, why are they doing that? But that means X is available. Replace X with what you think is available had they done what they should have. In this particular moment, that means you know that this dude is going to be doing his raptors, maybe going down to the Wolves and the Grump, or going up from the raptors to the Krugs and ganking top lane again. Thus, we know the Grump and the Wolves are available. So if we go back to base here without potentially finishing our topside quadrant to shadow the gank on the top side, if we just go back to base without checking the raptor so we have no idea where he is, we miss out on those fine details that will allow us to take his randomness and punish it. So whenever you expect a jungler to do one thing, and they do another, say, hey, why are they doing that? But wait a second, that means that first thing is actually available. Hey, maybe I could take that. Maybe I could do something about that. In this case, we gank bottom lane and don't do anything about it, but in theory, if you did gank bottom lane, you'd know the Grump and the Wolves are available because the Wukong actually did go top lane again, so we'd have strategic counter jungling advantage. The fourth thing we have here is that killer instinct that junglers just don't have, but they must. So we have a very fed Kindred here, you can see from this example. We decide after this gank in the mid lane, we should either go to the bottom side and maybe look for a blue buff invade, a mark snack, a bottom lane kill, or should we just go for the Herald and potentially destroy turrets and activate our snowball potential? Which one do you think we should go for? Well, most likely you were incorrect because I didn't give you all the information. I didn't say where the Udyr was. And if your question was, hey, but where is the Udyr? Then you were the right answer in that particular question. You needed more information, congratulations. Because the mistakes that you just don't really fully see through. You think, hey, I've got a good lead, I'm fed, I'm Kindred. I just, activated another gank mid lane. I know my mark is on the blue buff. I've been tracking the Udyr and I know he's going to be there. I know I have a 2-level lead. Hey, you know what, but the Herald's available. I'm gonna go for that free objective. That Herald's always free. That dragon's always free when you have a lead. That's why in high elo you see them just not do those things early. Always a Herald for gold, but they don't waste their time on dragons if they've got such a big lead, they can just invade, counter jungle, and kill. That killer instinct and killer denial is what takes the game to the next level, what takes your jungling to the next level. And if you can rectify that by saying, hey, I'm not going for Herald, I'm going to invade this Udyr, kill him, take my mark, take the blue, take the Grump, dive the bot lane, and then I'm gonna basically go back to base and swap and do the Herald thing. And if he shows up, guess what? I'm just gonna kill him again. That's the killer instinct working overtime. That's the denial working overtime, and that's how you get 3 to 4 level leads. Use it. The fifth thing here is ganking side relevant to enemy jungler's starting position does matter, and you have to think about it. If you're doing a red side quadrant into the bottom lane gank and the enemy jungler starting on the bottom side and going up, you leave yourself susceptible to being invaded on the top side and losing control over that side of the map if you don't get ganks early. If they start on the top side as well and are sequencing down, then that's where the Talon example I referenced early in the video is really good. Because the Talon decides, hey, Raptors, red Krugs gank bottom lane, He gets there before the enemy jungler does, and thus gets the double kill, leaving the enemy junglers to go, well, I guess I have to sequence. That then allows the enemy talent to go back to base, and of course this was a Yi, and then he can go to the top side, counter jungle, perma invade, dive top lane, but at the same time the enemy jungler now feels compelled to try and match, because that they know if they go and farm and do nothing, then the talent could use their prior to invade, knowing that his bot is dead, and when they're coming out of base to lane, there's a sequence of time that the talent could use to ignite and kill. The mind games of where we start versus the enemy jungler starts and where we want to actually end up going is very, very important. And in this meta where everyone thinks they should just be spam ganking bottom lane, even though there's a lot of other cool things you can do, really think about directions that you and the jungler are going and how it meshes up with your game plan and their game plan, and reconcile these things to become an elite jungler. Likewise, 6 and 7 are kind of connected in that you need to play the game like it is a spectrum and not like it's sort of segmented and blocked. This isn't Minecraft, it's League of Legends, and there's a flow to it. The eyes up jungling, okay? Put it in the context of the enemy jungler as well as your own. I start top side, why? Because I know the enemy jungler is gonna want to try and gank the bottom side. I don't do the red side stuff, I just start blue side. I know I can full clear and scuttle. I know that he cannot. I know that if I tell my bot lane, hey, just let it push in, please respect it, I will rotate if necessary, but don't die to it, that can do a lot of work. If he does show up, leave your clear, counter gank, make the right play. If things work out that way, great, try and get the scuttle, you see it, you go map is king, I have to give it up, that's kind of its own point as well. Cross mid lane, drive by gank, you could push it, but mislead and misdirect, and that's number 8. Go ahead, take the top scuttle, now they think, the Zyra's on the top side, most likely going to be doing Grump and Wolves, huh? Nope, go back and gank the mid lane yet again. Now, mechanics aside from everything you're seeing, the Sylas does of course show up and say, whoa, why I had to fall back to my camps because there's nothing available, why did you gank this before me? And that's the idea here, taking over that tempo advantage. Again, that's probably number 9. So the last 4 points really just packed into this example here, showcasing all of the mistakes you can use that enemy junglers make and then use them against them. Excellent charm and overcommittal by the Sylas because now he gets desperate. Now you try and kill the Azir, unfortunately the order doesn't do the job. Now again, we could hide away, go back to Grump and go back to Wolves. No, intentionally say you're dead, Azir has to base, I'm gonna take your Raptors. The crucial thing is here is that you've denied a second spawn camp and he can do nothing about it. He sees you do it, so now you forced him basically to go to the bottom side to try and get the second Grump. Because when he showed up early, 12 CS, it was clear that he did red Raptor's Grump because he showed up with no blue and way too soon for it to have been a red side quadrant clear into the bottom lane gank. Now from this, because you've denied him that and shown him that you've denied him that, you can fall back to your blue side quadrant, finish it and go back to base if you like. But if you have that tempo advantage and you know that he knows that he's got nothing on the top side now, he could look to go for the counter jungling, but he doesn't quite know where you are. He knows you have the advantage, so you are afforded the time to go back to base and spend. Now, if you do meet him in your red side jungle as he uses that 20% reduction of damage to waste his time there, you would just kill him. Unfortunately, he does die, which means you can use the outside in rule to go ahead and clean up a kill. Now, the downside to this is that while you will get the RNG scuttle and you don't have any camps to counter jungle because you're timing it, you have to fall back to your own red side. You see him basically go ahead and gank and get a kill on the top lane. That's unfortunate, but we have such a big CS lead. Just go ahead and gank the mid lane, pick the lane you want to camp, and basically force him to be trailing the whole entire early game. How do we do that? By basically saying, hey, look, I know you gank top lane, I know you're behind, you might look to counter jungle and do the herald, so instead of going down to the weak side of the map where there's not a lot of camps, even though my red is there, I'm gonna go to the top side, cover my blue side jungle, and just take those camps and prevent you from taking anything that you want for free. Now you have multiple choices. Do I loop back and do the herald, or is it too soon? Maybe I just want a full sequence reset. When you see him top lane again, you basically, okay, I won't let you get that herald for free. You show up, he isn't there, so you sneak it away while he wastes his time farming and ganking. And then you can use it for plates after killing the Azir again. So that's how you have a really good early game by using all 9 of these things. And you can see you can do it as an off meta versus meta. You can counter the meta and do it against them. And if you are one of those gankers, then just adhering to some of these principles will give you better chances of success without having, say, enemy junglers out-farm you or out-rotate you and deny you. And if you're looking to really understand how to become the jungle difference, even if you're behind, maybe like the Sylas was here, but even if you're ahead, click the video in the box on the top right to become a jungle savant.